Hello, spin enthusiasts. Welcome to week 4 of How to Be a Color Guard Instructor. Let's get on it. If you've been watching this series, you know that I asked a question on Instagram and I got so many responses to it. It's ridiculous. I am going through some of the questions. I will say some of the questions that if they were asked repeat times, I'm only going to answer them once. So I'm sorry if you feel like I skip over your question, but that's what's going on. I have a lot of questions going on here that are the same, and so I will get to every single thing on here. So the next person asked, how do you handle girls who don't get along together or don't work well as a group? You're going to love this answer, or you're going to hate it, actually. The love thing was sarcasm. You make them work together as a group. We have sessions at Spintronics that are specifically called team building sessions, and we do activities that have nothing to do with color guard, and we team people up in order to get them working together toward some common goal that is not color guard related. That way the pressure of performing and the pressure of having the correct technique is off, and they can just work together as people, just as two people, not as a guard performer, one who's better than the other, or one who's more experienced than the other, or two that have the same amount of experience but don't have a good opinion of each other, whatever. As two human beings, and they can work together. And some of these team building exercises, you'll see them in some of our videos if you watch the Spintronics vlogs. They're silly, they're games, they're like you're writing love notes to each other, you're having to get across the floor and the floor is lava, you're having to build something. So there are these things that they do together to help them get along better as people. And then once they can get along together as people, they are going to get along better on the floor and have a lot more respect for each other when they're on the floor. And we started implementing this in 2012 a little bit, and then to an even greater extent in 2013, and it helped so much. You can actually see the cooperation and coordination of our students increase over time as we started implementing these team building exercises. So is that right for every guard? Maybe, maybe not. I know there are some guards who are great at working together no matter what, but a lot of times, especially if you're working with younger students, they have to understand and learn how to respect each other as people in order to work together better on the floor as color guard performers. Kristen says she assumes that to be a guard instructor, you have to be good on all pieces of equipment. That is not true at all. At all. We have dance teachers who only dance. That's it. They never touched a flag, never touched a rifle. In fact, I handed Leah a flag once, and I wish it was on video because she immediately flicked it back at me and was like, ew girl, no. I have some instructors who are really good at weapon and have never touched a flag. I have some flag instructors who are very basic in their weapon skills. So you don't have to be good on every single piece of equipment. You can have a specialty that you work on and that be it, and then move on. What do you think is the most challenging part about coaching guard? Trust. I think trust is the hardest part because the relationship that you have with your students is a student-teacher relationship. And a lot of times you assume that because the students are there, they're going to trust you. And then you get students who have been hurt by a previous teacher, or not necessarily a previous teacher, but someone previous in their life, and they feel like they can't trust any adults for whatever reason. So getting your students to trust you and understand that your choices and your decisions that you make will always be in their interest is really difficult. And a lot of times, as an instructor myself, I like to always double check myself with what other people have experienced, what other people have done. And if I talk too much about that with my students, they'll think that they can't trust me because I'm not experienced in whatever situation we're in. So it's getting those students to trust you, to trust that you're always going to make the right decision. And we have an issue of, especially at auditions, you know, there will be some veteran members who look at who the staff has chosen, and they might say, oh, well, why did you choose that person? They're not any good. But as a staff person, we saw that maybe that person isn't as good as our veteran members, but we saw that they went from not being able to even do a drop spin their first time to being able to do a drop spin double catch behind the back, although shakily, but in like a week or two. So we look at a lot of different factors when we're selecting people for our team, and sometimes the other members might not realize that or understand what goes into that. And so we have to make sure we maintain that trust. Open communication is the best way to maintain that trust, but you have to continually do it and make sure that you're always touching base with all of your students. It's hard. It's very, very hard, especially when you have a lot of students to work with, because you can't sit there and make 30 individual phone calls every single night to every single student to make sure that you guys are on the same page. So if you're a guard student out there watching this, please trust your instructor. If you feel like you can't trust your instructor, talk to your instructor. Have that open communication and make sure that they understand that they need to be trustworthy. I think that's the hardest thing, honestly. There's a lot of hard things, don't get me wrong, but that is definitely, in my opinion, the hardest thing there is to do as far as being a guard instructor goes. That is all I have time for today, so I hope you have enjoyed this. If you want to get another weekly dose of color guard instructor information, head on over to Patreon. For all of our instructor and director patrons, we have some exclusive color guard instructor content. It's these posts. They're not super long, just these little posts that'll help you understand how to better teach color guard curriculum as an educator, and not just throwing out, okay, we're gonna do these color guard basics and choreography and things, but actually like teaching color guard as a class, as a whole subject, as a fine art. So head on over to Patreon, subscribe to our page, and we'll see you over there. Otherwise, like this video, share it with all your friends, and don't forget to subscribe because I'm doing these every week all summer. Bye guys.